It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
That's what I'm talking about, son. Get you some of that daggone pie.
Woo-hoo! Looky there! There's your bug-eyed big one right there.
Getting started. We're getting started.
Here's what I'm talking about. Gosh dang gorilla!
Let's go, baby. Straight meat. God, look at that big one.
All right, welcome in everybody to the Band Pod. I'm your host, Big Ed, and on the line tonight, the winner, the brand new champion of the Columbia River, Boardman, Oregon, went up there, and we got ourselves Chris Parks on tonight, and we're going to be talking to him a little about how he did it, some of his roots, where he came from. So sit back, kick your feet up, and enjoy this show. Chris, welcome on in, man.
Ed, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. It's been a good couple weeks, and cool to get this thing rolling, tell a story, and maybe learn a bit along the way. So
no, you're gonna be teaching everybody. You went out there in the Columbia River. This is not, some people think it was fishing great. There was a lot of fish going on, but the competition you were up against those was stiff, man. There were some good anglers out there, some guys who fished that river quite a bit. And, even though it's good fishing and out there, it was, there was some conditions going, the wind, we thought it wasn't even going to have a third day at first. Day 3 was supposed to be going and blowing, man. It was supposed to be big out there, and it ended up just flattening out and being a nice day on the water. You went out, you did a great job. You made the cut on, after cut day, you made it. You were there. You were championship day. You went out there and you became that champion, man. And that's props to you and congratulations. I know this is your, as I don't want to say it's your first win because it wasn't your first win, but as on a pro level, on a pro-am level, especially, this was your first win, and congratulations on that. And we just kind of want to know now. Everybody wants to know your secrets and how you broke it down and how you ended up doing out there on the water, what you were using, what was going on. They just want to know all your secrets, man. So I'm bringing you on here on the Band Pod, and we're going to see what we can pry out of you or just let you say.
Right. That's what it's all about. What a week. I mean, everything starts with practice. Everything starts with pre-practice. I mean, it starts really months in advance, and you study that pool and what you need to be competitive that time of year because things shift. And I went into that thinking, man, if I don't have 10 largemouth to weigh in, this is never going to come to fruition. The 4-pound smallmouth in the summer, a lot of times they dry up a little bit. So I was really focused finding largemouth, really. I mean, there was practice in there where I was like, hey, I got to find these guys. Thought I needed 10 out of them, 15 wayfish to be green ones. And I found a good group, and, I was happy about finding those in practice. And I said, hey, I found an awesome patch of fish I think I can start on and put something together day one. But I knew it just wasn't probably going to be a multiple day strategy. I crossed it off, said, hey, I got something here to start with. But then I knew I needed the smallmouth. It's a 3-day event. I mean, it's a marathon out there to have enough fish of quality to make it there. And the bite was really good. You could just go catching if you want to just go catching, and you got up in the grass and you find some shell bottom, you were around fish. I mean, you could pretty much pull that off anywhere on the river right now, and stay with them. Techniques varied on conditions, right? I mean, depending on if it was flat or windy or cloudy. I mean, you had different baits you could throw and catch them, but it was really, locations you got to be around them, right? So the smallmouth were pretty easy to find. The bigger ones, though, that was tricky.
Well, and that's saying this couple things right there. One, grass. One, we did deal with all kinds of different weather. I mean, there was There was sun, there was wind, there was some cloud cover, there were, I mean, kind of everything went through except for some major rain, right? So, you're up on this river system, you got grass, you got rocks. Everybody was talking about, how dangerous it was to run if you had to stay on certain areas. You made sure you're using your electronics to the proper, running through there. What did you kind of, with all this, it's a river system. So, with everything out there that you were looking at, was there one thing after you came out of practice you went, you know what, that's what I'm going to focus on? I found the fish I'm looking for to an extent. It doesn't sound like you were totally locked on, but was there something that just kind of you went, you know what, I got to key in on that. I know I'm looking for largemouth. I know I'm going to need these smallies around, but was there something, because the strategy comes into that, right? At that point where yeah, this is what I found, but this is where the small little key to finding those better fish was. Was there a spot like that you found?
Yeah, there definitely was. So in practice, you sample shallow and you look deep, you do both. And, I went out deep and I could catch them pretty well, but they really weren't very big. The ones I found, 1.5 to 2 pound class. So you hit 4 or 5 spots like that, and it seems to be kind of telling you, hey, you need to get out of here. And so I went shallow, and if you 2 to 5 feet of water,
Wow. Okay.
you find some hard bottom, and you get a little bit of grass around. If you had just hard bottom with no grass, it really wasn't holding a lot. If you found just grass, you weren't really around the right thing. So you're trying to find that little, and you call it a habitat, but it truly is like a little microclimate. Hey, this is where they want to be right now. And started locking into that and started catching better fish. Like, I could pull up on a spot that looked like it had the right stuff and catch a 2.5 to 3 pound with some 4 pounders mixed in. And they were, in the morning, they'd come on a top water, like a walking bait. They were all over that a couple mornings. And then if it was starting to slick out a little bit, you could grab a fluke and work a minnow style bait through the holes, catch them. You could long cast a weightless Cinco, and they'd eat that as well. For me, my number one bait ended up being just a little Ned. It was just a little Ned. I found some
Oh.
good fish, and I didn't want to go very fast. I wanted to go slow and kind of just really benefit from what was in front of the boat. I didn't want to burn up the bank, and I really kind of moved slow. My trolling motor was on like a 3 or 4 speed, and just kind of creeping along and just making methodical throws with a little 3/16 ounce Bass Union weedless shaky with a little Ned on the back. I threw green pumpkin, and I threw the deal. I don't know if it mattered. I kind of like the cycle back and forth between a few colors. I probably caught half of them on each color, right? So I never felt that those fish were too keyed up on anything specific. It was more about, hey, what's the profile of the bait, and where am I putting it? Where am I placing it? Placement really seemed to be kind of king for those smallmouth. But yeah, going back to practice, we had a pretty windy practice, and we got up on this grass bed, and it was windy enough. There weren't a lot of options, so it was like, hey, grab a spinnerbait. And so started throwing the spinnerbait, and immediately caught like a 4 1/4, and then caught a 3. And then I practiced with Joe Cody quite a bit. We're buddies. We go back to the college days, which we'll probably get into here in a little bit. But we're practicing together, and so I catch a 4, a 3. He catches a 3, and then he catches a 5.5, and I'm like, holy smokes! Okay,
Wow.
we're done. We're done. This was in practice, and it was bumping pretty darn hard, and you couldn't really tell what was going on as far as like what was going on the bottom, because it was getting turned up, and you didn't have I couldn't see through the water very far. Right? And I just knew we were on, hey, we're running a good zone. You catch 2 big ones like that close together, it's very likely you can come back to that same area and duplicate another quality bite. These smallmouth, if there's a 4 pounder using one spot, it wasn't an accident. It's rarely, from what I found, just outside the box and random. Like, they're there for a reason, and there's more to go with them often. So we found a special spot in practice and in the wind, and it's like, okay, all right. And I looked at it, and I'm like, I think there's some room here where I could catch a limit, and probably more. What am I going to catch them on? I had 4 or 5 rods that I felt really good about tournament day. But until you get back in front of that place, you just don't know which one to grab first. You kind of have to get there and look at what the conditions look like, because we had the wind, we had the sun, we had the flat calm, we had the clouds, we had a little bit everything. So it was almost like, hey, I feel good with these rods, but which one am I going to grab first? And it was all condition related.
Wow. Yeah. And that's listening to talk about that. It seems like you had, I mean, I guess practice is always like that, right? It's kind of you're just out there trying things out, and then you almost stumble into something. It's never like, oh, your plan never comes together, right? You go out and, you know what, we're passing around, we find this one area, we throw out a spinnerbait, boom, 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 we catch a bunch of good fish. And we're like, oh, okay. So in the tournament, you comes back out. So there at any point when you're doing this that you're like, you could lock up, but you couldn't lock down? Was there any point that you're, thinking about that whole thing? It's like, I got this run, you're at practice. So you got some time, in practice. You can lock up, you can go through. Was there any big long runs that you wanted to make, or did you stay in the same pool the whole time? Did you, because I wasn't out there. I don't know where you were at, but what was it that what was it when you were looking at it that you just said, you know what, I'm going to stay here, or I'm going to run? Did you make long runs? Did you look through? Did you, it's, what was going on out there?
Yeah. So I first I wanted to find some fish close, and in practice Wednesday morning, I did that. I mean, I ran around and found biters fast, and 2.5, some 3-pounders in the mix. Nice fish that'd kind of get you in the mix, but they weren't that upper echelon of fish that I found real close by. So it was like, hey, I need to get up and explore. So we went up above. We locked up above and spent some additional time up higher in Kennewick, and that's for us, found that little golden zone and kind of hunkered down. There was, I go back to the largemouth thing too. So I did find a good largemouth. And so the day one strategy, like, Thursday night going to bed, I'm like, gosh, I put quite a bit of time in these largemouth. I found a really good pocket of them. Do I just bail on that completely and run straight to what I feel is a good smallmouth area? Or what do I do with that? So I had 30 minutes to fish Friday morning before I either needed to stay put or make a run to the lock. You had about I think it was 25, 26 miles from Boardman to the lock. So you had a half-hour boat ride to get up there and in position so you can make the 7 o'clock. And so day one, I was like, hey, you know what? I've got 30 minutes. I know exactly where these largemouth are, where they were set. They're shallow, which is always a little sketchy, because if you roll in and if they're in a good mood, you're going to get busy quick. But if they're not, and something, those shallow fish just changed and they pulled out, like, it may not be going on. And so I said, okay, I'm going to run right to those largemouth first thing, and I'm going to throw a little popper, which actually left all my poppers at home. And I kind of panicked next day, some tackle warehouse gear to the Airbnb, because I was like, I think I need a couple poppers, because there was a bunch of bluegills spawning in some of the backwaters. So I'm like, hey, I really want to throw a little popper around. Popper's got really good drawing power, and you can fish it, slow and in the right zone. So I started with a popper in this largemouth pocket. About 5 minutes into, I get this really big blow up, and it ends up being like a 2 3/4-pound smallmouth, like right where I was seeing these 4 and 5 pound largemouth. So I was like, hey, all right, I started the day with that fish, and I was just looking around in there, and it was, you can see that well because it was low, like the light was low, but really wasn't blasting them. And I said, you know what? If I make the run and lock up, I'm not going to have a bad day. Like, I will catch them. I knew I was going to be able to catch them. And I could have stayed down low and waited for the largemouth thing to go, but I just was like, the smallmouth thing felt too special from what we found to just not do it. So I was by myself. I didn't have a partner Friday, the first day of the tournament. So, ran up there, got in the lock at 6:45, 6:50, lock through. I think there was 10 of us. So I think we had 41 in the event. So 10 of us were sitting in the lock first morning, and we were up and down in like 20, 25 minutes, and popped up at the upper pool. And off we went again, and ran up to the spot I thought I needed to be on, and I got there, and it was slick calm. It's 8 o'clock, and the sun's already up quite a ways
Hmm.
at 8 o'clock this time of year, and it was just slicked out, and it was just like, holy crap! It just felt so much different than it did on Thursday. So it's like, first I grabbed the little popper and I'm throwing it out there and looping it around, and nothing's going on. Then I grab a fluke and I throw a fluke out there and snap it. One rolls behind it and misses it. I'm like, okay, well,
Hmm.
they're here. And then I make another cast. One like kind of just short strikes my fluke, and I'm like, okay. So I look down and I flip the locker open and I pull out a Ned.
Tell a new fish story with Garmin EchoMap Ultra 2 chart plotters in 10 and 12-inch models featuring traditional clear view, side view sonar. Heard about Garmin's Live Scope, live scanning sonar? EchoMap Ultra 2 is compatible with that also. You can even capture your favorite and best fish catches with the new screen recording feature. What more could you want? How about built-in Garmin Navionics, inland and coastal mapping? Wireless networking? Check and check. EchoMap Ultra 2. Check it out at Garmin.com or shop your local Garmin dealer.
I locked up with a 2 3/4, and then I think it took me 30 minutes to catch a limit. And if I remember right, I looked down at my scale, and I think like my first 5 fish, I think I was at like 17 pounds. And
Wow.
I'm like, okay, you're on your way, right? It's 8:30. You went to an area you felt good about. You've got 17 pounds. Like, there's no reason to go fast. Let's just continue. Like, just kind of stick to your guns. And I really hunkered down and just kept staying with it. And there was a little bit of wind popped up that morning about like 9, and it blew hard enough to where it was like kind of getting a little uncomfortable with a down bait. So I grabbed a spinner bait and I threw a spinner bait, and I'm reeling it back, and this 4-pounder comes darting up and chases it, and then just kind of does that, like, turn right, the boat just dives back into the weeds.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay. So I reached down, I flicked the net out kind of where that fish was pointed, like tried to lead him by like 5-10 feet, flipped out, lifted up, and it's like, "Brrr." Well, that fish ate the worm, and so there was another 4-pounder,
Wow.
probably 10 o'clock that morning. And I can't remember if that fish called or not, but I remember having like 2 4s and I think a couple 3s and a 2 3/4 or something. But I went
Wow.
through that area, and I think I caught 15 or so fish the first day. And
Hmm.
then it was like, hey, I need to get heading back towards the lock. We had a 1 o'clock locking down at McNary. So, ran back down there and kind of going, my scale's telling me I've got a pretty good limit of fish, and um, ended up zipping back down and closing the gap. I had a 240 weigh in the first day. So by the time you popped out of the lock, it was 1:30, and you had a 25-minute ride. So there wasn't a lot of time to fish day
Right.
one, get back down and into Boardman. But on the way back down, I was running, and at this point the sun was up pretty high, and I'm thinking, hey, I can see right now. I'll be able to see. So let me go run back and check those largemouth and see if they didn't pull up in the afternoon when the water temps warmed up a little bit. So I ran back into where I found the largemouth, and there was this 4-pounder that was in there chasing bluegill around just
Hmm.
in this area. I had like a 10-15 foot square, like it was up spawning doing something, but this fish was really aggressive, and he was just running things down. And you're like, I mean, that fish will bite. So I had the poles in the dirt, was kind of watching him, and the fish starts swimming away from me. So you want the fish looking away
Wow.
from you if you're going to sight
Right.
fish. Like, you don't want the fish, the bait, and then you want the fish, and then the bait, right? In that sequence, you want the bait on the other side of the fish. So that
Right.
fish started pointing away, and I threw a 6-inch Senko at it, and he locks in, he sees it, he goes over, and he's standing on end on it, and I pop it once, and he just eats it. And so it's like, all right, here we go. So I ended up catching a 4-pound largemouth the first day at probably 215, I don't know, somewhere around there. And so it was like, by myself, and it was just easier to grab it versus than net it. And so get that fish. I looked down at my scale. I think my little fish was a 3.2. So I got to cull out a 3/4 of a pound or a little bit better on Friday
Nice.
late. So it's like, hey, all those largemouth that I found, I finally got one day one. Day one, I caught one. So that was cool and rewarding in itself. So first day went really well, and conditions, we all got to run around the river without any bumps, and it was just special. So
Well, that was a guy, and that's a great way that you started. I mean, for anybody that doesn't know, hasn't paid attention, Chris led this thing the entire time. So that was day one right there. He starts it off. He pulls all that weight. I don't, I'd have to go back to look. I just weigh fish. I don't actually remember what you guys weighed. But they come up and he's leading day one. So now you're on day two, and everything kind of changed day two. I mean, you talk about no wind on day one after your practice, like you said, was kind of a blow, and everything going. You had a spinner bait by, you had some things here and there going. Now day two comes along, and you've got the same issues. Now, do you run back to that largemouth spot right off the bat?
I mean, I thought about it,
Mhm.
but I didn't. I left that alone. I just didn't. When I went in there at the end of the first day, I didn't see a whole lot. Like I was able to catch that one nice fish, but the rest of that zone to me seemed like something changed. Like it had cleared out, and
Hmm.
I was like, hey, I'm gonna go start on some smallmouth day two. So in the morning, I had I had Will Harris with me, so it's kind of a special deal, right? So he's leading
Right?
on the
Yeah.
co side, and I'm fortunate enough to be leading on the pro side, and so we get paired up, and I'm thinking to myself, hey, you know what? Let's go start on some stuff where we can get busy and catch them fast. And if I can catch a couple threes and then go to the lock and only need 3 bites, I mean, it takes so much pressure off you, right? And so we actually came out and ran west of Boardman and started on some current and rock, and torched them. I mean, it was like, I think I had a limit in 15 minutes for like 12 and a half
Wow.
pounds. And
Nice.
that was cool because I had 2 3-pounders. The other fish were, I think, the other three, I think a 1.5 and a couple twos, but it was like up there north of 12 pounds on my scale. So I'm like, I'm pretty happy. I found those fish in practice, and I was like, I knew that group probably wasn't going to be like a winning caliber, but it was a quick group. Like I could get them to fire immediately. And I pulled up on those fish with a fluke, and they just, I think it was just about every throw, it felt like. And caught those fish. Will caught a nice fish. He started, I think, with a 3-pounder on a jig,
Hmm.
which was a nice one to put in the box. And so we ran up to the lock. So this time I'm hopping in the lock. I've got a limit, and the prior day I only had one. I mean, it was an okay fish, but so I'm getting in the lock with a limit, and you tie off and you get your bumpers out and you get the boat set, and then it's like, I better put these fish in my scale and figure out what I got back here. So I'm weighing everything and kind of getting organized in the back of the boat, and I'm like, okay, cool. I got 2 nice fish, and we're gonna go run the same thing again. So we do the same thing. We get out, great conditions. It was a little bit cloudy that day, like a nice high overcast and calm,
Yeah.
just like a primo day to be out in the water in the morning. And we zipped up and got on the flats and kind of went down the same way. It was like, there's one, there's one, there's one. And Will's catching a couple out of the back, and I think he caught like a 4.5. I think he caught on a Cinco. He did a really good job of, trying to grab the angles that I wasn't. And he picked up some nice fish doing that. And that was a good day up there as well. Probably about the same, probably caught maybe a few less, maybe a dozen, maybe 15 on the second day. And then I think he caught a limit. No, I don't think we left up there. I'm not sure if he even had a limit, to be honest. He may
Oh.
have had a limit. No, he had 5, and then we came back down. We locked back down, and we had a little bit longer day because we went from a 240 weigh-in to a 320 weigh-in. And so on the way back down, I had this little reef that was just stacked with fish, and we pull up on it, and the fish aren't really helping me, but it's every cast, and he's catching 2.5s, and he's making some culls right there. So it was kind of a special little zone. Oh, I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
So day 2, okay, going back to Thursday, my buddy
Yeah.
my buddy Joe Cody catches a 5.5 pounder.
Right.
And I put a waypoint on that fish. Like, yeah, there was a 5 here and we caught it. Better put a waypoint. There's a reason it was here. And
Yeah.
so day 2 in the afternoon, the sun starts getting up about 10:30, and I'm trucking along through the grass and in the holes and looking around and doing my thing. And all of a sudden I look up and there's this very nice fish sitting there staring at me. And I'm like, oh wow, like that's a big one. And then I kind of moved the boat off to reposition because I was too close to it. I needed to kind of get myself in a better spot. And I looked down at my foot and I'm like, holy crap, that's on the waypoint from the other day. And it says big fish and it says, rock. And I'm like, then I put it all together. I'm like, I look at it again and like that fish had a little white peg mark on the left side of its face. And I go, oh my gosh, that's Joe's fish. And so I reset up on that fish, and the fish is kind of squirrely, but he's down there like aggressively chasing things. And I sit back off that fish for a little bit, and eventually it eats my Ned and hook the fish, and it comes out of there just hotter than heck, and end up scooping it with the net. And I look down and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just caught Joe's fish. so
So you came back down there, and the very fish, that 5-pounder that he stuck with that spinnerbait, you go back and get him with a Ned. That's awesome right there, man. That's marking it just right?
yeah, that's I don't know what that's all about, but that's special. And there's some luck to that, but it was also like a whole lot of things. Like you catch a good one, you mark it, it's kind of in the area, and you come back. I mean, I got lucky in a lot of ways, but you see the fish and then you start connecting the dots, and like the fish took a little while to catch. Like it was a fish where you'd almost maybe long enough you're like, hey, I'm gonna leave it, but I already had a good limit. I think my small fish was a 3.25 at the time, so I knew that was a 2-pound cull. Like I knew it was a really good cull because we'd already weighed the darn thing. And I was like, we're gonna catch this one. Like I don't know, I can catch some more, maybe 3.5, 4-pounders, but that's a 5.5. I really want that one. And there was already limit anyway. But I catch Joe's fish, and it's like you're kind of just giggling to yourself. You're like, what the heck? So the week was just like, it was special all the way around. But we locked back down, like I was talking about, and I didn't really at that time. I knew I had a bigger limit than the first day. And I was like, I don't really want to go burn any 3-pounders up. I might need them Sunday. Like I thought with the wind, I wasn't going to be locking up on Sunday. I thought I was done with the big run. I was like, I'm staying closer. It's going to be really bumpy. So I didn't really want to burn anything up on day 2 after we got through the locks, because I knew I had a good nice group of fish. So I took Will to this reef, and we're catching. He's calling. And so we come in day 2, and we're both still leading the tournament. So
Man. I was gonna say that you said something in there about you kind of gotta, is once you catch a fish like that and you're at that level, are you all of a sudden your mind goes into strategy mode? It's like, hey, I can't. Now you're on a river system, so I know there's a lot of fish, and I know you're sitting, you're telling us you're sitting on a bunch of good fish, but does that strategy kick in where it's like, all right, gotta stop, kind of don't want to stop fishing, but I got to stop fishing. I got to stop fishing maybe my best areas, get off my water. Does that all kick in right there? And you're like, I could be, I mean, you got cut day, you're sitting in cut day at this point, and all of a sudden it's like, man, I could be leading this again. You come in, you are leading it. Now you're sitting in the set, with your co-leading it also. How much of that did kick in at that point, strategy wise?
Oh, a lot. Like about 10:30 on day 2, I was like, I almost, if I thought I was coming back to that area on day 3, I probably would have left at 10:30 on the second day. But I knew it was going to blow. And in my mind, I'm thinking, hey, it's going to be blowing 10 in the morning. It's going to ratchet all the way up to 15 to 17. Like, I'm not going to make this run. So I was kind of like, day 2, from probably 10:30 to noon, I was like, I'm going to burn it down. Like, I'm going to try to catch everything I can in here. If I'm throwing back fish over 3.5 pounds, like at that point, I was like, whatever, like just catch as many as you can. Cause I didn't plan on returning.
Okay.
So that was in my mind for my primary zone. But when I came back down, when I was in the lock or driving to the lock and in the lock, I'm like,
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning to the BAM Pod tonight. I hope you're enjoying the show. But right now, we're going to take a commercial break and talk to you a little bit about Excel Marketing LLC. They're your local TV expert, and they have something to tell you about Dish TV. If technology, value, and customer satisfaction are important to you, then it's time to cut the cable cord once and for all. Upgrade your TV experience and start saving with Dish today. Call Excel Marketing LLC at 209-542-4129 or visit them on the web at excel.getdish.com. They're Excel Marketing LLC, your locally owned, operated, and trusted satellite TV experts. Now, back to the BAM Pod.
I was like, I'm not going to call. Like I didn't really want to at that point, because if I'd gone to some of these other groups of fish in the lower pool, I was like, I can't afford to go catch some 3.5s and have them not come to the scales. Like, I need those fish for day 3. So the strategy was already well locked in. So that's why we pulled up on this spot. That was a really busy spot, but it wasn't.
Right.
I thought it could help Will out a pound or two, and he caught him there really good. And I think he called there several times.
Wow.
So it was good because, I didn't burn anything on Saturday afternoon, and then Will was making advancements with his weight too. So it was just kind of a perfect combination. And the pool was nice, so we slid out of there and made it back into weigh-in. And then at weigh-in, it's like, I had a really good group. I think day 2 I weighed 23 3/4, or all smallmouth.
Right.
I think I had big fish of the second day with a 5.5.
I think you're right there. Yeah, I think that was
Like 542 or 5.
Yeah, it was 540 something. Yeah.
So it was cool to go up to Joe and go, "Hey, buddy, I caught your fish and weighed it today." It's like what, like, kind of like, there's hundreds of miles of river. Like, what are you talking about? No, like, I really caught it again. So,
well, no, let me ask you this, because now it's day 2.
Yeah.
And we're looking at day 3. You've made the cut. You're going to championship Sunday, and basically this got dropped on us right then. I mean,
Yeah.
there were, I don't want to say it was panic in the air a little bit, but there was some panic in the air, because that wind was supposed to come up and it was supposed to blow. That 10, 15 you were talking about, 17, that wasn't what the numbers were saying. They were saying it was going to be 25, 26, 27 miles per hour winds. Like, Mark was in full, we may have to shut this thing down. And that's what the weather reporters were calling for. That's what we called it. He had called a bunch of different things and checking it out. What's going through your head at that point? I mean, you're leading it. So, I mean, you and Will both are leading it, and you're like, if they shut it down, they shut it down. You're gonna walk out of their winners. But what was kind of going through your head at that point? Was there ever a, I don't really care how this goes right now, or was it, I want day 3 bad?
Yeah. So Wednesday afternoon and Thursday blew really hard, and everybody saw what 20 to 25 looked like out on the river. And it was like, it was fresh and it was mine. It's like, oh gosh, I don't want to do that all day. Like, that's that's rough. And so, Saturday was weird, because, like, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking through myself, like, we're fishing tomorrow. I want to fish tomorrow, but then there was a little piece of me, like, I really didn't want it to be. I didn't want to go down that way. You don't want to, win on a
default, basically.
Yeah, it's
right?
kind of a default win. Okay, you had 2 really good quality days, but did you put 3 together? And it's like, well, I won this tournament, but I didn't fish a full event. So it would have felt a little weird if it would have been canceled on Sunday. But I will say Saturday afternoon, 4:35, when it was like, we're going tomorrow, man, it was like, I literally felt a little bit of everything, because I'm thinking, okay. Like, I had plenty of fish that I could get to locally, I'll say within 25 miles. But I didn't know what I was going to catch. Like, I didn't know if it was going to be 14. I didn't know if it was going to be 16. I didn't know if it was going to be 17. I didn't think there was any way in heck I was going to catch 18 to 20 in the lower pool. I just didn't think it was going to happen. I felt really good about catching them, but just that quality I didn't know. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, hey, I can't. And if I had a 4.25 pound lead, so I'm thinking like, okay, Jake's gonna catch 20 tomorrow, so that means I gotta catch at least 16. Like that's a minimum, but I probably, if I can get to 7, if I can get to 18, 18 feels really good.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, can I catch 18 down here tomorrow? And in my mind, I didn't think I could. And
Hmm.
so I'm going, I'm going tomorrow. I'm going on a boat ride kind of at, any conditions.
Right.
I'm running. I'm running again. And I've ran the Colombian, the big nasty stuff, and it's
Right.
really not that bad if you take your mind and you change it and you're okay with slowing down. Um, like we can stay dry. It's just gonna
Right.
take, instead of running the boat an hour each day. Well, shoot, we'll see that. Instead of running the boat 2 hours every day, we might be running the boat 3 to 3.5, and I hate to say it, but maybe even up to 4 hours a day,
Yeah.
and really limited time to catch them. And day 3 too. You've been on the river for 4 days in a row. You're a little taxed, like your body's a little beat up, and um, I was like, and I told myself like I got to do it. I got to go. Like
Right.
I'd be so upset myself. I laid up, and if I would have laid up, like good grief, the guy smashed him on day 3.
Yeah.
Like everybody smashed him.
Well, and
So
that's leading into that is, that's you're waking up, you're already in, that's already in your mind. I may have to slow down. We may be running long distances. We may have to just eat the waves. We may have to
yeah,
just do it. And you get up, it's Sunday, and there is not a whisper of wind out there. It was like, I
yeah,
don't know where that 25 miles per
right,
hour went. I don't know what these weather forecasters were calling in, but it just stopped. It was flat and it
yeah,
was hot.
yeah,
We didn't see wind until what, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It was so
yeah,
crazy. How did that right
yeah.
there all of a sudden go boom, change your entire day?
Well, when you come out of the breakers, I was like, I looked out and there was just a little bit of chop, not much at all right there off the rock. And I was like, hey, I'm going to run west again. And I boogied down there and I caught 3 fish
Hmm.
immediately again. And one was 3 pounds on the third day. And I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, like the river's looking pretty decent out here. And so we like, hey, let's go. And so we picked up and we changed zip codes. And it was I was smiling the whole ride. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, if I can get one way where it's not beating the tar out of me, I'll take that every day of the week. And so we made our run up, and we got up there and had 3 fish in the boat, and the sun was up by the time we got there. And mind you, the water's been clearing a little bit since we haven't had
Right.
like a real hard wind for 3 days. And so I get up into that zone, and it's like, holy crap, there's one. There's a 3 pounder. There's a 4 pounder. There's a 2.5. And
Wow.
it was a late wave of spawning fish. It was amazing. And they,
Hmm.
for the most part, were pretty easy to catch. And I just had the net in my hand. And like I said, trolling motor down on a 3 to 4 speed. The one thing though, I will mention, you hook these fish, my
Yeah.
trolling motor went to about a 7 or 8 because I had to chase them. Like I'd hook
Really?
them, I'd hook them. The water's warm enough; they are just full of it, and they would take off. And you got heavy grass all around the boat, and you got to kind of stay on top of them because they will just flatten you out and get away from the boat, or they'll go under your boat and come up the other side and jump, and just
Wow.
they'll do the most ridiculous stuff. So it was a trolling motors on a 3 or 4, catch one. As soon as I'd hook one, I with my right foot, I'd just kick the dial up, go whoop, get it up, and just pursue that fish, to keep him like either under the boat, right in front of the boat. I wanted that fish like 5 to 15 feet right in front of the boat, just going left and right and kicking my butt. But they would, if I didn't use the boat to literally land these fish, I would have lost several of them. But I think I've had one fish break my line the first day, one break my line the second day. Like these are hook sets, like there's a bite hook set crack. But other than that, it was amazing. Like every fish I hooked, put in the net, which was
Wow.
really fortunate too. Everything has to be going right for that to happen, but you had to chase them. You had to use your boat to fight the darn fish.
So let me ask you. So now it's day 1, nobody in your boat. Day 2, Will
Yeah.
in your boat. Day
Yeah.
3, who's in your boat again?
So Will's in my boat again.
He's
which
right
was
back
pretty
in
cool.
there.
He's right back in there. So we were paired 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 3 and 3, all the way down on the pro and co side. So yeah, so Will's back in my boat. And like the wild thing is my buddy Joe Cody, he's in second, right? So
Right.
like we almost line up together on Championship Sunday. And you know, that would have been a whole nother special story in itself. But that was super cool. But yeah, so Will's in the boat again. We had a really good cadence. You know, we're both helping each other the second day, and so we kind of knew what we were getting into day 3. And we catch a couple fish early, and then we're running back up to the lock in the morning. And you know, I pull up on a spot, and I'm like, "Hey, Will, you know, catch a topwater fish here. Like, catch it now. Like, here's a window." And he casts out, and 2 3/4 eats his walking bait, and so
Wow.
he catches a nice one. So it was kind of like we're checking into a few spots to get him a few bites on the way. But we're up the river, and it's, oh gosh, it was still, so day 3 we're catching them, and I've got 20 pounds on the boat at probably 10 o'clock, 10:30, and the wind's still laid out. And I was staying in that zone until noon and making the run back down. And it was 11, and I had 20 pounds. The river was flat still. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, that river is going to pop off any minute. Like they don't normally miss a forecast as badly as they missed it on
They
Sunday.
missed it bad.
They missed it in a really good way.
Right?
But you know, I'm thinking, okay, I've got 20 pounds. Jake's got to catch 24. Let me close the gap. Like, let me close the gap. So we jumped in the boat. We left the primary zone an hour early. We started cruising down, and we actually got to pull up on a few spots above the lock, and Will got to fill out a limit. I had a spot that had a whole bunch of fish on this reef, and I actually hadn't fished it in pre-practice, but I'd fished it the last few years for the pro-ams up there, and I kind of, you know, had the waypoints, and I'm like, hey, there's this sneaky bench that has some hard bottom and 4 to 5 feet of water, and it sticks way out off the bank. And we pulled up on it, and there was fish everywhere, and
Wow.
you know, it was slick calm. So Will's throwing his weightless Senko far away from the boat, and he's catching 2.5. So he's calling. I'm in a position. I think my small fish was a 3.25 at this point. So kind of just like I'm catching a few on the outside, but I'm like, they're right here. So he's getting his stuff going, and we get about a half hour down low to fish, and then we hit the lockdown. We lock down and through, pop out of the lock at 1:30, and we've got 25 miles to go between us and Boardman, and we start running down. And I had a spot in practice I caught a 4-pound smallmouth off of, and I was like, hey, I haven't fished it all week. It's close to the boat. It's close to the ramp. Let's go check it out. Why not? So we run into this pocket, and I get in there, and it's, you know, the grass is matted over, and there's like, you can see like the grass is matted, and then you see like a clean spot. And I grab a frog. Like, it was shallow enough to where it's like, hey, this is, you know, it's really kind of a frog cast. So I've got a frog that's sat in the rod locker for the last 4 days, and it's like, well, I'll pull this out and yank it out real quick. And
We're going to take a short commercial break and talk to you about one of our great sponsors, StoreQuest Self Storage. They're here to help you get your garage back. As an outdoor enthusiast, you have gear, lots of expensive gear, equipment, boats, trailers, and vehicles, probably all stored in your garage. You need a storage space that's easy to access, secure, and climate controlled. And that's where StoreQuest comes in. Head over to storequest.com. Plus, members receive an exclusive 10% discount with the offer code BAM10. That's BAM 10. StoreQuest is the official self-storage partner of the BAM Tournament Trail. Now, back to the BAM Pod.
make this cast along this like grass mat, and walk a frog, and I just get this crazy bite, like just this, all the energy the fish had, just boof, eats it. And you're like, and I'm like, hey, it's a largemouth. And I set the
Wow.
hook, and this fish like two cranks, and then it jumps, and here comes this brown football, like 4 feet out of the water. And it's like, that's a smallmouth. And Will's like, net, and I'm like, yeah, let's net this one, because I was catching a few fish before. We weren't really netting them because they weren't quite big enough. This one was like, yeah, that's a net fish. And so he's flying at me, and we net it, and I put the poles down, stop the boat, and I grab the fish, and I've got this 4.25 pound smallmouth with 2 hooks popping through the cartilage, just totally wearing it. I mean, he wasn't
Wow.
going
Yeah.
anywhere.
Anyway,
It was
awesome.
sweet. So grab that fish. I'm in the back. I'm culling at like 2:15 probably. I'm throwing back a 3+ and putting a 4 in there. And then Will throws a Cinco out to the other side of the boat. And he's like, he sets the hook, and I look, and this 4.5 pound smallmouth comes flying out of the water. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And we end up, works that one. We net that one. And I think he threw back a 2-pounder for a 4.5 with that. I mean, it was really big coal. And it's like 220. And I'm like, I got one more spot. And then I just kind of hit me. And I'm like, it's 220. The river had just started bumping. Like it had
Right.
just kicked off just enough. It wasn't slick out there anymore. It started to bump. And I'm like, it's 220. We're 4 or 5, 6 miles away, 6 miles, something like that. Not too far.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we just need to get in. We just need to get in. We just need to get the boat back in. And so we took it nice and easy. And, and for the first time in 3 days, we got into some stuff that you had to drive a little bit and come back into the breakers, and, idle in, it's 2:30, and like idling in, you're just kind of like, we're back. And like, there's a huge amount of pressure that comes off you, right? You're back. You've made check-in
Right.
on this. After 100+ miles of round trip, you're like 100+ miles each day, and you're like, I've made it back. And it's just like this kind of the sigh of relief, and come in and tie to the dock and check in with Michael Bray and hanging out. It's like, feeling pretty good.
Well, you end up, and not ruin and spoil this, but he ends up winning this thing. I think that's been well documented anyways, both of you guys in. But where I was kind of ended up with Will, on the second day. You ended up with Will on the third day. You guys are teamed up. Nobody on the first day.
Yeah.
Before this show, you and I were kind of talking about this a little bit and some of your history. And I just thought, as you were telling me some of the story, I thought, what an interesting deal that, Will's a younger guy. He's not, he's a little, he's not a kid, but he's a younger, one of our young guns coming up, doing great things. He's a heck of an angler, got a lot going for him. And, you were telling me this story. And so this is what to me was so interesting. You were the guy that was the founder of the University of Oregon's bass fishing team, right? You were the guy that started it all back in, what'd you say, 2005?
Yeah.
You were out there doing all that. And here you are, the way you talked about fishing with him, the way you said some of the things there that I heard, if you guys were paying attention out there and you're listening to the way he was talking about it, I just found it so interesting. You could just hear, you talked about 2008, 2009, you weren't allowed to fish anymore because you had already graduated back in 08. You were out there now. And here you are watching this young guy, and the way you were talking about it, the way you were like, yeah, I kind of, I gave him some of these spots, and we were kind of fishing back for him. And I find it so interesting that, with with your history, and I want you to tell people a little bit about that history. We got some time here on the show. Talk about it a little bit, what you came up with and how you got here. Because if you don't know who Chris Parks is, this is the time for him to kind of tell you who he is and what he's done and how he's got, after being out here fishing for 11 years, coming in on the BAM Trail, taking this win on the Columbia River, and fishing with the young gun coming up, man. And he couldn't have I don't want to say he couldn't have, but he couldn't have got a better ride out there than to be with you, coming from your history. Tell everybody out there a little bit about this, man. Talk about this story.
Yeah, it's a fun story, man. I mean, this stuff actually, college was one chapter, but it started in high school.
Hmm.
We started a fishing club at our high school here in Eugene at Sheldon High School in 2000, and we had trout tournaments, we had carp tournaments. We got enough boats together. We go have a bass tournament. So that was in high school. We had a pretty fun group of guys that we do a few tournaments with then. And um, fast forward a little bit, get to University of Oregon, and this was really kind of the inception of college fishing, even nationally. A buddy of mine, he called me and he goes, "Hey, there's a college bass fishing tournament in Little Rock, Arkansas, in like 2 months. We should go."
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, well, yeah. What do we have to do? And so we walked into club sports at University of Oregon in 2005 in the spring, and we're like, "Hey," we introduced ourselves, and like, "Yeah, we'd like to start a fishing club." And like, just the looks on the faces were like, there was a lot of disconnect. And we're like, "Let us show you a website that you know showcases what's going to happen, what this looks like." And we type it in, and it brings up ESPNU collegiate
Wow.
tournament. So it legitimized it immediately for them, and they kind of looked at us like, "Okay, we might be able to do this. We've never done this before." They're like, "Okay, go raise $300, and we'll get you. I think we can get you there." Like, okay, so go home
Hmm.
that night, write a check for $300. Come in the next morning. We've raised $300, and that was the start of the University of Oregon Bass Club. And so it was myself and Gregor Crowell. We were the founders in 2005, and started telling our buddies about it. Say, "Hey, we've got this fishing club," and started running it. But needless to say, we're back in Arkansas fishing the Darnell River, or Lake Darnell, which I think is a part of the Arkansas River, if I remember right. But we're back
Hmm.
there. We fly back there. We've networked for a boat and some local guys to drive the truck and boat to the water. And I mean, the whole thing. We just jumped in, and we were so fortunate. And we got back there, and we were the first school west of the Mississippi to be there. Like, nobody out this way had a team yet.
Yeah.
And so we got rolling, and we got our butts kicked in that tournament like it was supposed to happen. And still had a really good trip, and they treated us so well. And so that next year we recruited a group of guys, and pretty soon the Oregon Bass Club's got like 15 guys on it. And locally, I would network with the Emerald Bass Club and say, "Hey guys, we've got some college kids we want to get out on a tournament, and could they help out?" So what we do, we'd run 4 or 5 qualifying events every spring, and we'd take our top 4 guys in points and send them to nationals. Well, there was one tournament a year at that time for us, and it was the ESPN tournament. It moved to Louisville, Texas, so Louisville Lake outside Dallas, and we did that for 3 years. And the first
Wow.
2 years we drove, which was insane. We'd get in the we rented so at U of O, we're like, "Hey, we need to borrow a car." And they're like, "Well, we have motor pool." And we're like, "What gets the best gas mileage?" Because we're piecing this thing together. And they're like, "Well,
Right.
we have a Prius, right?" We're like, and we're kind of looking at each other like, "I don't think we want to do that." And we're like, "It gets 50 miles a gallon." They're like, "Yeah." We're like, "Okay, we'll take it." And so we take off from Eugene, Oregon. I don't know what date it was, and we just start driving. And 38 hours later, we pull into Dallas, Texas, a little disheveled, but we made it. And we had all our rods and all our gear with us contained, which was cool. And we pulled up, and they just rolled the carpet out for us again, and we got to go fishing. And
Wow.
yeah, what a great experience. I mean, I met some of my best friends through that organization, and then I graduated in '08, and then they needed a coach, that needed to be an official coach. So I signed up for that because I still lived in Eugene.
Hmm.
And so then I got to go with these guys as FLW's collegiate piece came on here in the West. So they were really fortunate because the money was getting really good for the kids and coming back to the clubs. And I was basically driving a 15-passenger van around to like Lake Mead, to Clear Lake, to Shasta, to the Delta.
Wow.
And I'm hooking up, and Greg Trouton and I developed a really good relationship. His son was on the team, Carter Trouton
Hmm.
and Ryan Trouton. So Carter and I knew each other from school, and Ryan I did. We had a great time, and then I met his dad. So his dad's down there. He brings the boat. So then Greg and I are getting seat time together with the college guys who are out competing. We're like, "Well, we're on Clear Lake. You guys want to go fishing?" So we're out there, cheering these guys on, coming in early to weigh in and watching everybody, and a lot of really cool interaction. through the college time. And yeah, so even post college, I got to kind of hang out for a couple years and, you know, be the coach of the team. But that was a great experience. And then it was 2013, I fished my first FLW on the Delta, and that was a big deal because it just, you pay to play, but just
Right.
to be able to go do that event and have the time. I had the equipment. I had a 21-foot Ranger at the time, and it was like, hey, I'm comfortable in the big water, getting out a big break, and the whole thing. So it kind of came full circle in 2013, and fished a few the pro-ams each year. So usually be the Delta. I never missed the Delta. It was like 13, 14, 15. And then I would sprinkle in a little bit of Shasta because that's closest to me. One of them, it's 5 hours. So that was I call my backyard. Wasn't exactly my
Right.
backyard, but that was one of the venues. So I was kind of fishing the Delta and Shasta on the pro-am level for starting in 13. And then I want to say it was 2016, 2017, somewhere in there, I started to do more. I was able to secure more time off of work. I had a little, finances looked a little bit better to where I could play and, fish all 4, all 5, try to make a TOC. So that really kind of, that was where I wanted to be. Right. But for me, I couldn't do it all at once. And, the Delta's 9 hours away. So it's like, these are commitments for me to get down there and do those things. And the last few years have been a really, really good experience, and I've had some success, and just missed AOI in 2022,
Wow.
the year Luke Johns won. He had a stellar year, and Ostrander had just a killer year too. But so I was able to nip in there, and that was like everything was really clicking. But I hadn't won one, right? And
Right.
there's only 4 or 5 of these a year, so it's like it's not like you're getting a shot every weekend to win a pro-am, and so many things have to go right. But it was a goal. I was like, I'm gonna win a pro-am one day. Like it's gosh dang it, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna get one. And the last couple of years, I've had 3, 4, 5 events where I didn't win, but I saw the path to win. Like, and in my mind, you start seeing those things, and you're like, hey, a little adjustment here, or maybe that fish that didn't end up in the boat comes into the boat, and then maybe this boat that started on a spot I really wanted to be on, maybe he wasn't there, and I got that spot first thing day 2. Like, you start kind of envisioning crossing the finish line, and I was able to do that in several events the last 2 or 3 years. Some top 10 finishes, but being like just pretty darn close. And I knew eventually something was going to line up, but I did. You never know when it's going to happen.
No, but that's a great. I love to ask this question, but and it's just this. Now that you have won it, that you've gone through everything, you've seen it, like you said, oh, I saw this or saw that, and I kind of learned. I remember when I was fishing some tournaments and I had won one of my first ones, and it was like I finally at that point learned how much extra it takes to take home that win. Is that really at this point, now that you've seen it, you go, okay, I see the effort that I've put in the past, and now I know exactly how much more effort I have to put in to actually go out and win these things, because these are not easy to win. There are guys, like you said, there are Jake Boomers out there who are not giving this thing up just because you want to win it. They're not out there doing that. Does that kick in now that you've won this thing, now that you can go back and go, I now know the effort I have to put in to make this one thing a win more often?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, there's a formula. Like, I feel like a couple of years ago there was kind of a formula, and like, you approach the lake with a lot of different ideas, and the quicker you can close some of those doors and get them out of your head, the better. So, like, I mean, some of my really good days of practice are days where maybe I don't do so hot because I've eliminated that whole thing. But seeing one of these through and being able to close out, like, you want to do it again, obviously. Like, it's like the tip of the spear. You figured it out to some degree. They're really hard to do, but I think your first one might be the hardest. But right now I'm really focused on trying to have a good Clear Lake, right? The next
Right.
event is
Yep.
that's I'm thinking about that more than anything. I'm already prepping for that mentally. Like some of the this prep for me starts a couple of months in advance. I'm already thinking strategy for Clear Lake. And when I get down there for practice, what am I checking first? Like what do I think is the winning pattern, right? Like I'm already putting that into motion mentally. Um, and hopefully I can have a good Clear Lake. I'm lucky. I'm in a pretty good position points wise. If I can do well there, I've got a shot at AOI, and that would mean a lot. Like I was able to sniff it a couple years ago, and now
Yeah.
I'm right there in probably even a better spot this year than I was 2 years ago with AOI points. And it's like, okay, it's gonna be a heck of a lot of work. And like the field's stacked with just so much talent. I mean,
Mm,
no,
definitely.
it really is. There's so much talent. There's so much history, right? You've got Greg Gutierrez in there, right?
Hmm.
How many tournaments has he won? How many AOIs? How many votes? I mean, and he's had
Yeah,
his
one
stuff.
yeah, one or two, I think. I think that's
Yeah, yeah.
right.
But that's one example of many that show up and do these things. And
Oh, yeah.
so you can't have a crummy tournament. And you just have to have a lot of strategy. And you if you think, hey, I only need 5 fish a day, like that's a lot of pressure off. You don't have to be out there and be busy. You can, you got an opportunity. Hey, I'm gonna go spend a couple hours. I'm methodically catch a limit of fish. I'm okay with that. But then I'm gonna step outside of that box for it may be half hour at a time. I'm gonna step outside the box a little bit. I'm gonna get my boat positioning correct. And this cast right here, a really high percentage cast for a big fish. So you kind of get to you catch and then you kind of flex outside and then you kind of feather back in. Like there's so much like flow that can happen over the course of a day. And you get a chance to zig and zag a little bit, but
Right.
you've got to know, you kind of have to know when to do it and then identify that window. Like here's that window. Like here's my window to go connect and maybe take that 15-pound limit that I'm on and maybe I can get to 20. Maybe if I can catch a 5 and a 6 right here, like it only took 2 casts. So it can happen really quickly, right? So you just have to always be thinking about, hey, what's next? And then, also, hey, what's long term too? What's a 3 day strategy? The 3 day strategy, I think, is the hardest because you can
Yeah.
find enough fish for a day.
Right.
You can find enough. A lot of times I'd find enough fish for a day and a half. And I'm doing okay. And it's, noon on day 2. And, oh, crud, like I've kind of burned through my stuff. So how do you go from there and go, you create something new in the middle of a tournament? Like, yeah, let's do it.
I will I have now been sitting in this chair listening to you talk about this, and a few weeks back I listened to Colby Pearson talk about this, and a few weeks before that I talked to um Gary Klein, and I heard him talk about this, and there's just one thing that keeps resonating in my head, and it's this game comes down to so much mental preparedness. Like
Yeah,
Gary kicked it off and he talked about almost some of the exact things that you just talked about, making the right boat positioning, making the right cast,
yeah,
making it in the right angle. Colby talked about changing his entire life, the way he does everything about how he approaches it, the way he addressed his job. You just did the same thing.
yeah,
It's like you're talking about that mental preparedness. And I can't stress with people enough how much, yes, you got to be out there and physically in shape and physically ready to take on this game, because it's not football. You're not getting pounded by 300-pound guys every day. And no, it's not basketball. You're not running up and down the court, but you are out there in weather for 3, 4, 5, 6 days, depending on the practice and that sort of thing. And your body up, you're taking it, but it's the mental game no matter what.
right.
And I heard that, and everything you said was, I have to be prepared for the next event. I'm already thinking about Clear Lake. I'm already thinking about how I'm going to address this, how I'm going to take that. I'm already thinking nothing physical. You just have to think about it. And that, it's such a great point that you say that. And it's going to lead to another win down the road eventually, I'm sure. Maybe Clear Lake.
I mean, yeah, being organized, right, is for me, it's like that's the first step out of the gates. If you're not organized, getting to the lake, like a lot of times doesn't translate into a good event.
Right.
And it's hard, right? Everyone's busy, people are working, jobs, families, so much stuff's happening. But if you can take the time, get your garage organized, right? I think that's for me, I mean, always been pretty organized on my tackle, but like that's step one. Like catalog your gear. Like if I
Right.
need a bait, you tell me a bait, I can go grab it off the shelf in no time, right? So it's like having my gear organized, being able to throw an egg crate in my boat, take my boat from a largemouth Oregon coast boat and converting to a Columbia River boat in like 20-30 minutes with just pulling gear out and putting new gear in. Like getting efficient there is has helped my game so much, because when I go, I've already checked off 100 boxes in my mind. I have this. My line's there. I'm good. I've gone through all my rods. I've got everything stringed up. Like I'm set. And you get to where you need to be. Your electronics are organized too. Like I've taken the time. I label every waypoint, right? So I don't just drop a gob of waypoints and
and wonder why
go.
you did it.
Yeah, what is that? Like, gosh, I got a cluster of waypoints, 10 miles away. What does that mean? And
Yeah.
so I've been doing this for quite a while, but use my Lowrance, right, for my waypoint storage, and get in there and type a note. It's a grass point, it's a hump, it's a channel swing, it's a stump, it's a sunken boat,
Right.
whatever it is. Like I have the note in there. So I feel like, and the nice thing about that is you develop this history, but I can pull up my map and be on one part of the lake and be like, hey, they're using this type of stuff in 6 feet of water. Like I probably have a map I can pull up and probably recreate that pretty quickly. So like,
Yeah.
it just helps a lot. And having everything working, having all your equipment working, your trolling motors working, your graphs are all working. For me, that all kind of comes full circle. But I don't know. I think being prepared and having a good plan, having a dynamic plan that you're not afraid to peel off and do other things around. Like you've got to be some rigid, but you got to be flexible. Like 3-4 hours into the day, you're like, hey, my results aren't here. Like we got a boogie.
Well, Chris, this is the end of the show here, and everybody just listen to you, and I always say this, man, the knowledge you just gave out, the wealth of knowledge, man. If you haven't learned how to fish or haven't checked something off the box of what this guy just taught you, how he did it, how he approaches everyday fishing with him, then re-listen to the show, because you missed something. But right now, everybody that did listen to you, they're going, now, who is this guy? How do I follow him? How do I watch him? So tell everybody out there, I'm Chris Parks, and this is how you get hold of me and check me out, watch me, and keep watching, because I'm going to be, out there, and I'm on the BAM trail, and this is who I am. This is what I do.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been pretty simple. Like I'm on Facebook. so I'm on Facebook, Chris Parks, and a lot of my Facebook's really just kind of tournament recaps of the last 6, 7, 8 years. And it's kind of cool to go back and look at that and go, okay, like here's some of the progress and whatnot. And if anybody has questions, shoot me a message on Facebook, and we'll chat and everything. And yeah, it's been a good ride, but the coolest thing about this sport is it keeps evolving, and you can keep challenging yourself to learn. And I mean, it's so hard to look the other way and want to do something else with your time. It's just like, hey, this thing evolves, the fish evolve, and everything else does with it. So it's just you can't beat it, man. It's special.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you kept it simple, but hey, man, you're a champ now. You got to go out there and blow it up. We want to see some Chris Parks fishing on Instagram. We want to see some websites go up. We want to see some YouTube channels. Come on, man, you got to join the social media
Yeah.
world out here, right? Everybody's looking for it. But hey, you know what? Most of all, I just want to say thank you for coming on and doing this show. We are always looking to talk to great anglers like yourself out here, help other fishermen out there become great anglers. And I feel like the information you gave out tonight, if yeah, like I said, if you haven't learned anything, please listen to the show again because you missed a bunch. So Chris, thanks for doing this, man. We really appreciate it, and congratulations again.
Yeah, thanks a lot for all your work in this, and want to thank Mark Lassane, the whole BAM staff, Michael Bray. I know I'm missing people, but you guys are putting on a show that's just it's set up really well and it's organized. It's just, I mean, I'm having a ball. So hopefully we'll see more guys jump in, and
Yeah.
I'm here to continue to support you guys because it's been
How's
really rewarding for me.
how's that pro tour action coming?
I don't know. It sounds like things are heating up. So,
You
there's
ready to jump up there and
hey, we'll see, man. I'm not sure if I'm ready to making any announcements quite yet, but hey, what the vision there and what it could mean for the West Coast is, how can you not be excited about that? I mean, it's pointing in all the right directions. So, we got to, right now I'm focused on this year and closing out the pro-ams, and there's time to think about it, but yeah, we'll see what next year has in store. Maybe in a couple months I'll be able to say
Well,
something, but not
I
yet.
was gonna say if you get that AOY going, I have a feeling there'll be an envelope in your mailbox, but that's up to Mark, not me. So you keep
Right.
watching.
Yeah, we'll keep looking for it. So I appreciate you, Ed, and yeah, thanks for
Absolutely,
tuning
man.
in. And
You keep
it was
going
a
out there and
lot of
doing
fun.
well, and we'll have you back, I'm sure.
Okay, give me a call.
All right, and thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Chris is a great angler out there, and we'll have another one in a couple weeks. So be looking for that next show too. Thanks for tuning in. Have a nice night.